Alrighty, so we are back for the Trunks, what is this, Supreme Battle Spectacle No Item Run. Now, a lot of people are hailing this as the hardest fight within the game at the moment, and I think I'd be hard-pressed to disagree with that statement, because when you look at this fight, you're looking at a bit of a challenge with how it's working, right? Because the beginning phases are tough. They hit pretty hard, but the second phase, if you guys don't know, I'm sure most of you that play the game are like familiar with the most annoying mechanics a boss can do, right? One of the annoying things a boss can do is dodge your super attacks. Maybe they can seal you when they super. They raise their attack when they super, excuse me. Stuff like that, right? They lower your defense when they super. But Trunks does the cream of the crop, or the cream of the crop, right? The number one most annoying thing a Dokkan boss can possibly do is what Trunks does. And that is lock you. And locking in Dokkan, it is so frustrating with a difficult fight because it's artificial difficulty, right? And when I say artificial difficulty, it's just stupid nonsense that the boss can do that's just really unfair because there's not a misplay that can happen that you do, right? Where it's like, when you can just randomly lock a slot, it's like the closest thing you could do is float a unit off that you want in slot 1 the next time you see them in case they get locked, right? But let's just say, for example, right, on the team that I'm using right here, I have a bunch of units that cannot go in slot 1. So I have STR Gogeta, cannot go in slot 1. We have Physical Gogeta in the second phase, cannot, and this is mainly talking about the second phase, right? Cannot go in slot 1. Even Piccolo can't go in slot 1 because of the super, it just does too much when his guard runs out, right? We're talking 900k, 1 million damage. It just doesn't work, right? I tried 6 attempts with the superhero team, which I'm sure most of you guys know at this point is like my de facto no item run. Like, I don't know what to do, pull that out, use that team. That's my no item run squad. That is like the one that I want to use. Even that team got its it got its ass handed to him, right? English is hard. I can't talk. I might be drunk, but it's okay. The Super Bowl was tonight, but I have to get this commentary out. So, yeah, Trunks locks. And when you lock, it is just like so annoying because, like what I said with the artificial difficulty, the control is taken out of the player's hands. So human error is not really as much of a part of it, right? When a unit gets locked in slot 2 that ideally you want to put in slot 1, that is out of your control. When a floater gets locked in slot 1 and takes 900k on a normal attack because you don't want them to be there, that is out of your control because they need to get their defense first on their super and stuff like that. So that is why this fight I think is really dumb. It's hard to put into words, right? I think if you want to call this the hardest fight in the game, sure. But I think when it comes to evaluating a unit, I don't really think it's like a good benchmark because it's like, oh, how does he do when you're a slot 1 unit or a slot 2 unit and you get locked in slot 1, or your linking partner gets locked in slot 3 and there's like somebody else there and you can't rotate them properly and stuff like that. Or you're the second attacker in a turn and you like that's where your buffs are at and you get locked to slot 1. It's just stupid, right? It takes a lot of the kind of control that you can have over the fight and the sort of outplaying the boss. That is, it's just something that's taken out of your control. So I think that's really frustrating, but that's like my drunk tirade on the locking mechanic. So let's talk about the way I beat this specific run, right? I think, like, all in all, this was pretty, like, if you want to talk about like a difficult fight, I think this is kind of like, I'm okay with fights being a challenge. I just hate when it's, the challenge is no longer like, just like, it's not a fun challenge. It's more of just like, okay, this is dumb. That's how I feel about it. But Physical Gogeta, you guys know why we have him. The last phase is in. He's just going to do an absolute, like, a ton of damage, right? That is sort of the end goal with him. Get him into Blue Gogeta, get the damage in, get the taunt mechanic off, and we'll be good to go if we need that turn. And what's really funny about this run is we actually end up not even needing the taunt mechanic to win. So it just kind of made me laugh the way this one worked out. Like, you'll see at the end how we end up winning. It's just super easy, right? Really the hard part to me is that STR phase because there's a lot of physical damage that we were relying on. Like the team I was using had like Ultimate Gohan on it. I think I tried to run with 17 and I kept getting him in slot 1 and stuff like that. And it doesn't work because you absolutely just need to get out of that second phase and you just lose too much HP in the beginning to the point where that second phase is just a nightmare, right? So that's sort of what ended up happening in this specific run, and it got really frustrating. But not in this specific run, but in this specific event, and it got really frustrating, right? Usually, I will go for a completion when I get the like the first night, right, where we're trying to get stones and whatnot, I'll just go for the completion and call it quits there. But in this specific instance, no. I went for the no item run on stream, so I took the L pretty big on that. But it is what it is. We came back the second day and got the no item run, I believe on the first or the second attempt that I did. I forget what attempt this was when I was recording it in the morning, right? I think it was like maybe, I don't know, it was right after reset when I recorded this, so early afternoon. But one thing that we do have here, STR Gogeta, I'm sure you guys are familiar with how he works. Guaranteed dodges, we would definitely like to have in the second phase, so that way we can kind of avoid a slot 1 super, but just the way this one worked out, we did not have that, so very annoying. But the perk of this is we now have physical Sword of Hope Trunks floating off, and that's obviously going to be extremely beneficial to us, as we no longer have to worry about him, like, we have to worry about him, like, the least, right? So we're not going to see him for as long as possible, because there's only so many turns you can avoid him on, right? And when looking at this Trunks, so I guess we can pull this up while I'm yapping to you here. Let's go to Dokkan info. You might be able to hear my mouse talking when I'm on recording post commentary, because the noise suppression that I have is not on this specific setting in Premiere. But if we go to the events here with Trunks, I'm just pulling it up as I'm talking to you guys. We have the Trunks stage. Where are you at? Stage 4. So in the second phase, he has 6.9 million defense. So the only real way that you can pierce through that defense is with crits and lowering his defense on these super attacks, right? So you can see right here, the play was to use the GT Duo standby and attempt to kind of snake out or revive right here. But the blue duo, really, it could have been nice because we could have just dodged everything, but we are now down to 16,000 HP. And with the 16,000 HP, we are now kind of moving on now. 16,000, or 16, I am all over the place. I am out of it. But 10 million damage with Gogeta. The only way that we really can pierce through this defense, like I'm trying to say, without his defense being lowered, is with crits, with defensive lowering on super and stuff like that. So when we talk about how it's like, oh, defensive, or not defensive, but what's the word? Defensive lowering from the from like your super attack and stuff like that is useless. You can just show off this and you'll be good to go. But I believe this Trunks does raise his defense, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, so if we look at his HP, he has 66,300,000, 630,000 attack, so that's pretty high. 6.9 million defense, 66% damage reduction, and he has 8 attacks per turn. He seals you with his super, he raises his own defense by 30%, he does 1.76 million with an 18%, and he can also double super with a 5 cooldown on each turn. You can't lower his attack, you can't lower his ceiling, or you can't lower his ceiling. You can't seal him, you can't stun him, and he can lock you. So I'm sure you guys have noticed at this point with the character locking, Gogeta is locked into slot 2. Which in this case we lucked out because we don't have to worry about him taking any hits. But what we do have to worry about is Orange Piccolo on the end because we only have 16,000 HP. So what I like to do here, I'd like to put Gogeta Blue in slot 3, get all that damage in, get the guaranteed dodges with Vegito Blue. But ultimately, I think this does end up working out in our favor with Vegito Blue being as good as he is and the guaranteed dodges in that slot 1. We are really banking on him getting a super in that slot 1 spot. So that ends up working out pretty well in our favor, I would say. Okay, so in the middle of that commentary, I had to take a quick break there and kind of get my composure. But so with this fight, the locking, right? It is just working around it. I just hate, right? I'm not going to go on the same tirade that I just did, but if you want to, I guess what we could do while we talk about this is look at some potential options that you guys could use in your runs to make this a little bit easier for you. I would say one thing that stood out to me was the impressive performance from AGL Vegito Blue. I would say all in all, he got a pretty high stock up in terms of his effectiveness in events, right? Because what this guy is doing is lowering the defense, he's lowering the attack on his 18 key. He's giving the 50% support on his 18 key to allies' defense. And it's just all in all, it makes the fight a lot easier. And I was very impressed with how he performed in this specific event, because usually, like, most units in this event struggle, but he was genuinely impressive. Like I was fairly I don't want to say blown away because I was kind of expecting it, but the way he held it down really defensively for me was very, very, very nice, because he just made it very easy with his guarantee. Like, those active skill turns were super, super impressive, right? With the guaranteed dodging, the damage that he's doing and stuff like that, it made life very easy for me. So I think what we should do, just because this second phase ends up taking a bit, I'm gonna speed up the gameplay a little bit for you guys, just so you kind of get the general idea, right? So let me go ahead and adjust that real quick while I'm doing this commentary, and we can get you out of here quick and waste a little bit, not waste your time, but we can get you in and out of here a little bit quicker. So just give me one moment. Okay, so now we're going to rock this at 200% speed, just so you guys get the idea. I've talked to you for about 10 minutes here, so we'll keep you for about 4 more, right? So looking at this turn, the first priority is to make sure that we get the standby with Trunks. We want to make sure we get the fusion in with Vegito. We have the active skill, and then the debate comes down to whether or not I want to use Vegito's active skill in order to get the guaranteed dodging, because the risk that I'm running is that Vegito Blue is going to be able to like maybe stay alive, but ultimately what I do, not stay alive, but use it on the next phase, but ultimately the decision I make is to keep Vegito Blue and get the guaranteed dodging in, because I felt that that was the safest play, because there's a good chance that we're just going to straight up win, and we're not going to have to use, what's the proper word here? We're not going to have to use the active skill, or not the active skill, get the active skill in order to win the fight, right? Because it's like, by the time that we get around to him again, the fight will probably be over, so that'll make it a little bit easier on us, right? So there you go, Vegito Blue does his thing, and now we are on to the int phase. So with this guy right here, the plan is Vegito Blue in slot 1 is probably the safest play, because honestly, I didn't know what the safest play here was. And I was like, just give me what Vegito Blue is doing with the attack support that that Vegeta's giving us. But obviously with the super you guys are seeing right here, it doesn't matter. But that is why we did the standby with the GT Duo, and that is where their value comes in with the guaranteed revive. That's obviously going to make our lives so much easier. So with the Trunks standby, my inexperience with the overall mechanic, it ends up playing a big role in this, because I was like, am I able to use this right now? Like, should I use it? Am I going to lose my defense? Ultimately, I went with the safe play because I wasn't sure. And we just kind of kept we just kept him in standby, and I was thinking that was the safest play. And you guys will see that this ends up actually getting a little bit closer than I would have preferred, ultimately. So I did think that was funny, but nonetheless, here we are. Very, very satisfied with that. And we should be good from this point on. Orange Piccolo, you guys are obviously, you guys know how Orange Piccolo gets down. Just not really here to do damage, especially considering he's type disadvantage, so we take the crits or whatever he gives us, but his ultimate purpose is to just hold the fort for us and make sure that we don't take too much damage overall in the run. So he's doing that, and we should be good to go. Not the best key on this specific instance, but nonetheless, he's doing what he needs to do. He's holding the super, and we're good to go. Like, just make sure that he cannot jack us up, right? With that dumb super of his. So I guess one thing to talk about with this Trunks, he raises his attack by 100%, which means he's hitting for, I believe, is 1.5 million on normals. That his attack stat is 1.5 million. So after he supers, there are not many units in the game that can defend against that. But you can lower his attack, so it is not the end of the world. It's not great, but it's not the end of the world. So if you're seeing that, you're like panicking. You're like, how am I supposed to beat this with a 1.5 million normal? No, that's not the case. You should be good to go. He does have the you do have the ability to lower his attack. You do have the ability to dodge, stuff like that. So right here, it just comes down to hopefully the normals don't do too much. And you guys are gonna see he takes Trunks like for a ride here. You'll see he does a lot more damage than I was anticipating with type advantage and stuff like that, and guard and whatever his thing is. So 140k at normal. I'm like, oh my god, like there's no way I just threw after all of that. But nonetheless, the normals do come through. Our units are tanky enough. Vegito Blue does do enough with his tanking in the Vegito mode and stuff like that. So he holds it down for us, and we end up getting the W. So all in all, an extremely hard fight, and it is a good time. So I can't be too upset about that. But it can be frustrating when you want to make the dumb extra step to add in locking and just make it less fun for the individual playing, because then you just get less control over the fight. And all in all, I just think that's just, it makes for a less fun gaming experience, especially with Dokkan, where it's like, you know, the fun you can have is a little bit limited, and then when you don't let me do anything, I just think it makes it less fun. So let me know down below what you guys think. The active skills are going to take us home here, so I ultimately turned those on. No audio, but you will get to watch them. So Gogeta's taunt, we'll speed that up a little bit, and then the other Gogeta Blue does his active skill and gets us the W. So satisfying end to what is an annoying fight, but nonetheless, we'll take those. No item for all these done, so it'll be very interesting to see how hard part 3 is with these, but let me know what you guys think down below. Don't forget to leave a like if you did enjoy, subscribe if you are new, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any of the Dokkan content I post. Thank you guys for watching, have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.